Hello, everyone. This is Bill Apter, and I just finished taping an episode of Count It Out with Mike and Tyler, or Tyler and Mike. They're brilliant hosts. You've got to listen, you've got to see. Count It Out. Yeah, I endorse it. They've got the After Chat seal of approval.
This is the hardcore icon, Just Incredible, and you're listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible.
Well, we are live, pal, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approve, Count It Out with Mike and Tyler, a bittersweet episode of Count It Out with Mike and Tyler this week, because next week it's going to be just Count It Out with Tyler, because our good friend, Mr. Mojito Mike over there, is going to be welcoming the brand new addition to his family, a beautiful baby girl. Hopefully it looks like the mother, so it will be beautiful. Mike, what's going on, man?
It's gonna be a week, man. We're recording this on Monday as we usually do. As it looks now, my wife is scheduled to be induced for labor on Sunday, so I'm less than a week away from meeting my daughter by the looks of it. And I originally we had planned for me to do this show and hopefully maybe one more show. It's just not gonna happen. I'll pop in throughout the summer, hopefully. We joked offline. Hopefully it's not a joke. That's if you can make room for me.
I'll see if I can fit you in. We got a busy schedule. We got a lot of co-hosts lined up over the next couple of weeks. Count It Out will continue.
I laughed. My wife made the joke, or it wasn't even a joke. She asked me, she goes, "So is somebody filling in for you full time, or is it going to be a smattering of guys?" I'm like, "Oh no, I insisted that it be a bunch of guys." And she says, "Why's that?" I said, "Because I'm afraid if he brings on one person the whole time, he's going to get used to that person, and before I know it, it's going to be counted out with Tyler and Jonah."
There you go. Or Anthony, maybe Anthony J. We've got a lot of good guests lined up too. I've been working hard putting some people together. We're gonna have, I think, the way it stands right now, it looks like Anthony's going to be joining us next week. We'll be uniting the classroom team. It's been a while since we recorded. I've been talking to our friend Bronwyn Billington about coming on and doing an episode. Nice. I got some people from Barry Wrestling interested to come on, so you don't worry about the show.
Slammiversary is coming up. I'm sure you're going to get Mr. Impact himself on here.
We are definitely we've spoken to Impact Wrestling. It does look like we are going to have some wrestlers from Impact Wrestling as well as Mr. Adam.
I was going to say I was talking about Adam, but
of course we're going to do a slammer. We're going to do an Impact.
When I said Mr. Impact, I didn't mean you're bringing in Ross Foreman himself.
Well, I love Ross. Ross, our boy. We got to get him.
You know what? I would actually really love to have Ross Foreman on this show. Imagine we should actually think about that. I'm not even fucking around. Imagine, because of the kind of job he has, he must have a lot of interesting stories. You know what I mean? And people always think to go for, I've always prided us in having really unique guests, not just wrestlers. We've had commentators, we've had referees, we've had
video
game, who's video game entrepreneurs. We've had people from every aspect of this business. So to get a guy like Ross Foreman, I think would make a lot of sense for our show. I think we should keep that in mind. I like that. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so we got a fun list this week. It is going to be how do you want to word this?
So the way I thought about it was it's the top matches that were enhanced by being extra violent. I'll go through the criteria again later on, when we're ready for the list. But basically, it's a match that has to be good. It cannot just be some shit match that happens to be violent. It has to be a really good match, but the violence in the match adds to the story. The violence is a character upon itself that makes the match that much better. But it still has to be a good match. It's the kind of match where if you pull the violence out, you can still be like, I'd watch that match. Or it also can't be the kind of match where, it doesn't really need it. It's a great match, but if you pull out the violence, it doesn't matter to the story. So I'm kind of running a fine line with my criteria here, but it all makes sense when I do the list.
All right, man. Well, since this is your last week, this is your day today. This is your entire show, Mike. You have a rant you want to go on. You have a hypothetical you want to talk about.
It's cute that you think the last 100 and whatever shows weren't my show.
Wow. Okay. Listen, the thing that I'm most excited about you leaving for a few weeks is going to give my back a break from carrying your ass all.
I'm gonna call Anthony and teach him those very all important 4 words.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. Before we get to this, man, I warned you about this ahead of time, but I got a bit of a rant to go on before we get into a small hypothetical. I want to talk about, I don't know, I guess it would have happened at time of recording. I want to say maybe a little over a week ago, not this past Dynamite, but the one before. I'm not sure, but there was a spot. You watched Dynamite. You can tell me a bit more about it. There was a spot where the Bucks did a double super kick on Sting, and it looked horrible.
Yeah, that wasn't the greatest spot. Yeah,
no, I think everybody could admit it looked like shit, right?
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
It happens sometimes. I'm not here to shit on that spot because the way I looked at it, there's not a company in history that hasn't had botches. There's not a wrestler in the world. You can count the greatest wrestlers in the world, the Bryan Danielsons of the world, the Bret Harts in the world have had botched spots. It fucking happens.
I mean, if you go back and listen to our top 7 Japanese wrestlers of all time list, you'll hear all of my botches as well.
Should the Bucks performed it better? Sure. Should Sting have sold it? No. But shit happens.
Yeah.
So I have nothing in common with the people shitting on the spot. However, there's another side to this. There are people defending the spot. And I also have a problem with that. A lot of people online are going as far as saying, why are people shitting on this spot? It's professional wrestling. It's fake. We all know it's fake. So why are you mimicking something? Why are you making fun of something for looking fake when you know it's fake? And my retort to that is professional wrestling is not. I don't care what fucking John Moxley or CM Punk want to tell you. It is not a competitive sport. It's a fucking art form. And part of that art form is making it look as real as possible. That's just part of what it is. It's like a television show. It's like a movie. It's drama. It's theater. And if theater's not looking good, if it doesn't bring you in and captivate you, why are you watching it? Mm-hmm. So I do think that you can't use that excuse. Should you shit at a botch spot? No. But can you defend it by saying, oh, but it's fake wrestling, so let it be fake? You're saying that you're never allowed to shit on a bad actor or some shitty CGI in a movie? Because people do that all the time. There's no problem with that. You know what I mean? What do you think on either side? Do you think either side has a right to either shit on the spot or defend the spot?
I mean, I think it's kind of embarrassing that people give a fuck enough to make such a big deal about it. Okay.
On either end of it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, it wasn't the greatest spot on the planet, but Sting and the Young Bucks have done a million great spots. So yeah, you know what? They fucked up one, put them on Botchamania, and then move on with your life. You know, exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
hey, listen.
Let's take a page out of our friend Tyrone's book. Grow the fuck up, everybody. Like, you know, it's professional wrestling.
I love Botchamania as much as the next guy, but
you know what you need to watch though. I'm gonna sidebar you here. You gotta watch OSW reviews. I've been begging you.
You have been telling me that for
I've been begging
literally.
You.
I'm pretty sure since like the inception of this show.
It might have been the first conversation I ever had with you when I found out.
Very possible.
Hey, watch OSW. Just like listen. There's gonna be those nights now. You got a new daughter on the way. There's gonna be a lot of sleepless nights where you're just trying to rock. Throw on OSW reviews. I'm telling you, Mike. It is the second greatest podcast in the world next to ours.
Okay. All right. Before I go into the hypothetical, I do have a question for you. And again, this is not me being a what do the kids say? A hater. I just need somebody with a less objective but somewhat biased view. You are an AEW fan. You are a fan of some of the wrestlers and style of wrestling that I just can't get into. So you're the perfect kind of person to talk to. I've tried. I truly have tried. I'm not sitting here to shit on the guys, but after almost 10 years of trying to be a Young Bucks fan, I can finally say I honestly truly believe that they are not only one of the most overrated tag team in the world. I don't think they are good. I just don't. So I want to get you to tell me what the Young Buck fans see in these guys.
Okay, so I think I am a good person to ask for this because you know my love for tag team wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate the Young Bucks, but I don't like them either. Right.
This is why I'm getting you, because you are right down the middle with the Bucks, and I know that. So you can tell me, but at the same time, I know you have friends that you've talked to people who fucking love them.
Yeah, and I get both sides of this equation. I really do. And I've been on the fence. I've been on both sides of this fence. First of all, say what you want about the Young Bucks inside the ring. The influence that they have had outside the ring, you cannot take away from them. They have changed the wrestling business. And
100%.
you know, everyone says Kenny Omega and Cody and whatever. The Young Bucks were the heart and soul of what made AEW, in my opinion.
I think the Young Bucks, from an outer ring standpoint, you turn off those cameras. I think the Young Bucks are the two most important outside factors since Nash and Hall.
I would agree with that 1,000%.
They showed, they were the first people to really show that, hey, if a company doesn't want to get you over, you can still get over.
They had like an aha moment.
Nobody made the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks made the Young Bucks.
They had this moment of clarity, and because I followed the Young Bucks for a long time. It was after their TNA run with Generation Me.
Yeah.
And they just were like, this sucks. And they got out of that and they were like, I don't care anymore. I want to go out and wrestle the way that I want to wrestle. And guess what was born out of that? Super Kick Party. And a lot of people will shit on Super Kick Party. That's a finish. It needs to be protected at Shawn Michaels. When Shawn Michaels hits a super kick, it's one super kick. That's why it's special for Shawn. The Young Bucks hit 1,000 super kicks because they're not as effective with it as Shawn is. You know what I mean? It's a finish for Shawn. The DDT. I think there's two ways that you can look at these. Like, you know, people really get on these rants about like, oh, the DDT is a transitional move. Well, not when Jake the Snake does it.
Not exactly. I could not agree with you more. I love that you said that, because that's the way I look at it now. And I probably was that person about 10, 15 years ago. You know, every time I saw a finisher get used as not a finisher. Now it's almost a compliment to the wrestler.
Yeah,
that originated the move, showing, hey, I love this move, but I'll never get it over the way that this guy did. Look at The Rock. The Rock would never get the sharpshooter over the way Bret Hart did, but I saw that as an homage.
But look at the way the business has changed, though. If you look at Shawn Michaels in 1996, nobody kicked out of the super kick. Exactly. But you look at Shawn Michaels in 2007, 2006, hey, man, it was a false finish.
Now,
Undertaker kicked out of it a lot.
We will say those are two very, 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 very different years in wrestling.
Yeah.
In 1996.
But that's the evolution.
Well, that's it. In 1996, people didn't, not just out of the super kick, people didn't kick out of finishers.
Yeah.
I sort of miss those days.
Me too. I definitely think that it's being abused.
I'm almost in between. It is being abused in all companies, not just AEW, not just the smart stuff, in WWE as well. It was special. Those false finishes and kicking out the finishers was special in a match like Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. But when you see it all the fucking time,
yeah, there's got to be a balance, you know.
Exactly.
And I don't like seeing 6 kicks out of finishes. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
because finishers no longer mean the only really protected finishers these days are the one wing and angel.
Yep.
And the end of days.
Yeah. Yeah, the end of days has only been kicked out of once, as far as I know.
Yeah.
which was great. And, kudos to Corbin for protecting that. Let's get back to the Young Bucks. So I'll try to answer your question here. I think that there are two very different sides of the Young Bucks. They definitely have their spot monkey side, which I'm not crazy about. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my cup of tea. I think it's incredible what they do. You know what I mean? And the spots that they come up with, I think, are highly creative. But that's not my style of professional wrestling. You know what I mean? I like,
and that's the number one reason I can't get into them.
yeah, and that's
the
fair.
number one.
But I watch what they do against guys like Penta and Phoenix, and I am blown away. I do think that they still have incredible matches. It's just not exactly the wrestling that I like. I like the FTR style of tag team wrestling, the more gritty, you know what I mean? Realistic based style, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That being said, I have watched some incredible Young Buck matches where they have had that style of match, where they have, Matt Jackson went through this phase right before AEW launch where he was selling this back injury for months and months and months. And man, it's some of the best selling I've ever seen in wrestling.
ROH or New Japan?
ROH and New Japan. It crisscrossed over. They did a match against the Golden Lovers, which was a great story. It wasn't a spot fest, and Matt told.
I do remember that.
You know what I mean? So there's that side to the Young Bucks too. I think that they're very versatile as a tag team. I think that they can work that style. They can get in there with FTR and have that type of a match. And they think they can get in there with Penta and Phoenix and B-Spot. And then they can get in there and just light a crowd on fire by throwing 1,000 super kicks. Like, there's a lot of different angles for the Young Bucks. I don't think that they're overrated. Maybe a little bit overrated.
Okay, well, here's my question. This will answer that very quickly. Are they in your top 10 tag teams of all time?
Ooh.
Because I guarantee they're top 3 for a lot of.
They're not in my top 5. I think they make my top 10.
I'd have to make your top 10. Really?
I'd have to really sit down and take a look at some tag teams.
You know how ridiculously hard that list is.
It's a very hard list, right? But number 1, number 2, I think you got to go Road Warriors and Team 3D, the Dudley Boys. I think are the 2 most decorated tag teams in the history of wrestling. I think the Hardy Boys need to be.
I always go between. I agree with the Road Warriors, but for the number 2 spot, I'm always flip flopping between 3D and Edge and Christian. To be honest,
see, I put the Hardy Boys ahead of Edge and Christian.
I know you do. We've had this discussion often.
But to me, though, it's just because of longevity and the accolades of them, right? Edge and Christian, I think, are one of the greatest WWF tag teams of all time. Top 3, top 4. But when you take a look at what the Hardy Boys have done, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, now in AEW, which I hope that they do win the AEW World Tag Team Championships, right? The Dudley Boys, ECW, WWE, New Japan, you know what I mean? The Road Warriors, AEW, WCW, New Japan, those accolades go a long way for me. And I think that's why you put the Hardys, the Dudleys, and the Road Warriors at the top of a list. Now take a look at the Young Bucks, though. Same thing, right? AEW, New Japan Juniors, Ring of Honor. They didn't win the Impact titles, but you know what I mean? But I think they make my top 10. I do. I think they would squeak in number 10, number 9.
That honestly surprises me, to be perfectly honest.
I
could see them making your top 20, top 15, but I'm very surprised to hear you even consider them for your top 10.
Like, it's tough because then you look at like these pure tag teams like the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs, right? The Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express have to be talked about because they made money, right?
Exactly.
I'm not gonna put the Freebirds in there because they were a trio. I'm not gonna put the New Day in there because they're a trio.
They count.
They're trios as far as I'm concerned. I'm not putting them as tag teams.
But they've all been tag team champions, and they are a tag team that initiated the Freebird rule. It's still a tag team.
Yeah, but I don't.
Technically, Demolition was a trio.
Yeah, I mean, for a cup of coffee, right? Demolition, I don't think makes my top 10 either, though.
No, top 10, eh?
I don't think so. I just think
I'm not sure either, but
I just think that, like, I think there's people that drew more money. Drawing money is a big deal for me. You know what I mean?
100%.
And the Young Bucks are money. They make a lot of money. They draw a lot of money. They're drawing. That's something. But the Young Bucks did something that none of these teams really did, and they came over to mainstream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go to any mall, they've got Hot Topic. Those T-shirts are in, and that's huge. Like, that changed
100%.
everything. That changed everything.
100%.
The Young Bucks made it cool to be a wrestling fan. I remember going to Monday Night Raw like years and years ago when the Super Kick party was hot, when the Bullet Club was hot, and every single person, I was wearing a Young Bucks Super Kick shirt, and you walk by, see a Bullet Club shirt, and we're throwing 2 sweets.
To this day, I still see it. Like, the funny thing is, I have a running joke with some buddies. I don't own a single Bullet Club shirt, but I own several Bullet Club parody shirts.
Yeah.
You know, all I have to do is wear those though, and people will be like, they just see it that it resembles Bullet Club, and I get it quite frequently. You know, 100%. It's great. I don't get that for, I think, any of my other wrestling shirts.
Nope.
You know?
To kind of put a bow on your question, Mike, I like the Young Bucks. Are they my favorite tag team that's ever lived? No. I respect what they've done. There's some matches where I roll my eyes and go, I don't like this. Too many falls, too many kickouts, too many spot fests. Like, I don't like stuff that looks phony. You know what I mean? I don't like when there's 3 people underneath just waiting for a dive. Like, you know, I don't like that stuff. I don't like when it takes 5 minutes to set up a spot. And, you know, the Hardy Boys have been guilty of that as well. You know, every team's been kind of guilty of setting up spots like that. The Young Bucks a little bit more than others, but when I take a look at the big picture, they've done more that I've liked than more than I've disliked. And I think they're very entertaining. I don't like them as heels, but I think it's because they actually piss me off as heels.
I can't tell if they're just too good at being heels or if they're pieces of shit.
I think that they got me, you know what I mean? Because I've listened to lots of interviews. I've listened to lots of interviews that they've done, and they come across as like really great guys and really like, you know, a little bit smug here and there, but it's like the right kind of smug. There's like good smug and bad smug. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
And they never rub me the wrong way when I listen to them shoot.
I think that's an elite thing, man. Because even Cody right now is doing interviews calling himself the greatest wrestler in the world, and you can tell he believes it.
But you know what, though?
You know what I mean?
I respect that, because why would you come out there and say anything less than that if you're a wrestler, especially the caliber of Cody? And you know what?
You know who taught him that?
His dad.
Exactly. His dad used. I think there was a story I heard about. I think it was DDP once said. I think Dusty asked him if he wanted to be champion, and he goes, "Well, I guess if it could happen." Blah blah blah. And he didn't give a straight out yes, and then Dusty reamed them out. If you can't say yes, you want to be champion, get the fuck out.
It's like
and I guarantee that's how Dusty raised his kids.
It's like how everybody shits on Seth Rollins for saying that the WWE is the best wrestling company in the world.
Why would he not?
Why would you not say that? Why would Becky Lynch not come out and say that Monday Night Raw and SmackDown has the best women's wrestling in the world? Like, there's the right way to represent yourself and the wrong way. Cody Rhodes coming out and saying, I think I'm the best wrestler in the world right now. And you know what? Look at the work he's doing right now. Yeah. Man, he's got a case. No, you know what I mean? Is he the best? No, he's not Okada. He's not Kenny. You know what I mean?
He kind of lost me when he says, and it's not even close. I'm like, okay, now you're kind of, but do I have a problem with anybody calling themselves the greatest wrestler? If you can back it the fuck up, go for it, man.
I mean, if Almost came out and said I'm the best wrestler in the world, I might be like, listen, you have a great spot on Raw and you're doing a great job, but let's pump the brakes a little bit. When Cody comes out and says it though, man, just look at what he did at WrestleMania. And I haven't watched their Backlash match yet, but I remember I watched.
Go ahead, watch that, man.
I watched it. Remember, I texted you at like 2 a.m. I watched the entrance, and I just said, Cody is a superstar, and he is. He really is. Like, there's something special about him.
Before we get into the list, I have a question for you and a quick hypothetical.
All right.
Both related to the list.
It's your day today.
The question. Since we're talking about violence, we're talking about blood, who do you consider to be the best bleeders in the business?
Mick Foley, Flair.
Mhm.
Hold on. You got to give me a minute here to think about some of these guys. Abdullah was a good bleeder.
That wasn't on my mind. That's a good one. Yeah.
Terry Funk was a good
Terry
bleeder.
Funk.
Austin was a decent bleeder.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like the territory days. I'm trying to think of Shawn Michaels.
I was gonna say the three guys that come to me right away, other than Flair, you said Flair, but I think of Shawn, I think of Triple H, and I think of Eddie.
Well, Eddie really we just think of for one blade job that he hit.
But if you look at some of the stuff, like other stuff he's done, like some of his Mexico stuff that he was doing between work and shit like that, he's had some bloody brawls.
Terry Funk was a great bleeder.
Mm-hmm.
I
know it's only.
Oh, you want a deep cut? It's pun intended there too. Dustin Rhodes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dustin Rhodes, man, has hit some gushers.
And Dusty,
Dusty was a good bleeder, but Dustin, man, you look at like War Games '92. You look at him against Cody. Dustin's hit some.
Look at him against
gushers,
Blacktop
man.
Bully.
Blacktop Bully.
I got him fired.
You're fired. Yeah, Dustin. Bret Hart was a good bleeder too.
Bret loved to bleed. I don't think he ever bleeded in a match where he was supposed to bleed.
Taker when he hit the zipper was good.
Bleed, yeah,
Taker he didn't do it a lot, but when he did it, he was damn good at it.
Never thought of that.
Yeah, Taker had a couple good zippers. New Jack, I don't know.
You know what? Vince could bleed.
Oh my God, Vince was a great bleeder.
Vince could bleed. Yeah.
CM Punk, not bad either.
Yeah.
He's hit some good ones.
I watched a match. I'm sorry, I can't say I watched it because I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I started watching a match. It was the Second City Saints versus somebody, and a big fucking just brawl, and he got busted open bad. It was crazy.
Raven was a good bleeder.
Oh, yeah.
Dreamer.
Yeah. Edge.
I've never seen Edge hit a. Huh? No, I don't. I can't say that I've seen Edge hit a good one. I'm not saying that he's not.
Maybe I'm going crazy. I'm picturing in my head just the blood in his hair, and maybe I'm going crazy.
I don't know. I don't remember Edge hitting a gusher. I don't remember him hitting a big one.
Dreamer could bleed.
Yeah. You got to think the ECW guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
Sandman.
Sandman was different. He was a trickle. He was a trickler, you know what I mean? Bruiser Brody was a good bleeder, right? Like
here's my hypothetical. I want to put you in a better world where two tragedies didn't happen. Think of a world where both the tragedies of Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit did not happen.
Okay.
If both those men did not tragically die when they did, how they did, do you think the violence and blood tolerance and policies in WWE would have changed to the way they are?
Yeah.
Do you think they still would have been pushed out, or do you think that was like a catalyst to no more blood and violence?
I think,
or blood and guts, as Vince likes to call it, in WWE.
I think the only thing that those deaths changed was the wellness policy. With Eddie's passing, we got the wellness policy from it.
Right. Yeah.
But as far as blood goes,
and with Chris, I will give it Chris's death credit, lack of a better term, for the no more use of the steel chair.
Yeah. Was that what it was?
Yeah, because that's when concussions and concussion syndrome really started getting talked about in wrestling after Chris's death. Okay. And we stopped seeing chair shots.
Yeah, I don't think that we would have saw the blood stop until they went PG. I don't think it made a difference. You know, they went PG and Shawn Michaels fucking took a razor.
That Jericho match.
He went coast to coast.
Yeah.
I think that was what triggered it. I do wish, however, though, that they would let accidental bleeding just happen. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like when they used to put the doctor in the ring and stop the match.
I was on the fence about it. I like that it gives us like a bit more realism to it, but what I would have liked it more of a, I like as soon as they start bleeding, I like that the refs put on the gloves.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. Not just for a safety purpose, for an aesthetic purpose. It looks real when they
Although
do
they're stealing
You know?
our friend at Barry Wrestling, Brad Meyer's gimmick, though.
They are. And then, well,
No, they're stealing it. I don't care.
I was gonna say, well, none of the referees have been murdered yet, but
That's fair. Brad Myers is the Kenny. He's the Kenny of South Park of Barry Wrestling.
I guess Tim White could say something about that, though.
Tim White. Love Tim White.
So yeah, I kind of agree with you on there. I thought it'd be a fun subject before, well, not fun, but a little subject before the violence, because I want to talk about some violence, Tyler.
Should I cue in let the bodies hit the floor right now by drowning?
That would be amazing.
I'm not doing it. I'm way too tired.
This is 7 matches where that, like I said, they have to be good matches. They have to be really good matches, violence or not. But the violence in them has to play an integral part. They have to be like, yeah, it was a great match, but the violence told a story. If it's violence for violence sake, that's why I'm going to be honest with you. There's no I'm not throwing
mass
GCW
transit
in here. Yeah, there's no real death matches in here. There's no Nick Gage, you know what I mean?
I would not have a problem if you put Nick Gage against Matt Cardona on this list. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Because the violence did have part in that story, because that was what the story was about. Cardona was coming in saying, you're just a fucking deathmatch guy. So yes, that had to do with that story 100%.
And even the same thing with Jericho too. Just seeing a guy like Cardona, and I'll say especially Cardona, because he really was just the white meat baby face for so long. So to see him get hit with a light tube was just like, oh, what the holy fuck? Like, I would not have a problem if you put that match on your list.
Well, I think I'm really going to surprise you with at least 3 items of my list. The others I don't think will surprise you, but at least 3 items of my list I think are going to surprise you. You're going to be, I don't know if that's a good thing or not yet.
Let the bodies hit the floor, Mike. Let the bodies hit the floor and hit us with your number 7.
My number 7, we're going back to 2004 to Ring of Honor's At Our Best pay-per-view. I don't know that it was a pay-per-view, but it was the ROH Championship match between Jay Briscoe and Samoa Joe.
It's a steel cage?
It is a steel cage match.
Okay.
Man,
I have not watched this match in too long to comment if it was worth it, but I do remember Jay hitting the gusher.
This is probably one of Samoa Joe's bloodiest matches, and he didn't bleed a fucking drop.
Yeah.
He massacred Jay in this, man. And I think this is one of the matches that really put Jay on the map.
Yeah, it did.
You know what I mean? This is where people really started to notice Jay as a big timer in ROH. And goddamn, Jay just came out there and he gave it his all, and Samoa Joe murdered him. He really fucking did. He just killed him through the whole thing.
Joe's gonna kill you was legit. You know what I mean?
And Jay is just busted open. But the reason it's on my list is because this match could have gone, because it's a cage match, it could have gone fine without the blood. But because he got busted open so bad, and the story became him trying to fight through that and trying to escape the cage. There's even a part where Mark rips the cage out a bit and tries to help Jay escape through the ripped part of the cage, because he's like, even Mark's like, holy fuck, man, you're in a bad way. Let's get you out of there. And it tells that part of the story, where that story is now, can this guy, Jay Briscoe, who just got massacred by the champion, I don't even know, it doesn't matter. Can he walk out as the champion? Can he walk out? That became this story. And they did a great job of it. This is 2004, man. This is ROH at some of their best storytelling.
Yeah. For me, 05, 06, 07 was really good, but Samoa Joe in 04, man, that guy, it now it's cute to sing Joe's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But back then Joe did kill you.
He was one of the toughest sons of bitches on the planet.
And he still is. He still goes real good, 100%. Man.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember being so disappointed. I don't remember what show it was. It was an ROH show, But do you remember the RA show where they put Samoa Joe up against Necro Butcher?
Yes.
And the match was garbage.
Do you remember their CZW match though?
No, I never watched the CZW match.
What?
I don't like CZW.
Neither do I.
Oh,
I'm sending you a link. Go on with your number 6, and I'm sending you a link on air. Mike, This might be like literally the craziest match of all time.
My number 6, I'm not shitting anybody, is in my top 20 favorite matches of all time.
Okay.
Now, think of the words I just said. Favorite matches, not best matches. My personal favorite matches. The story told in this match is something so special. I'm trying to remember the year, so I think it's 2015, I believe. We are going to the season finale of Lucha Underground called Ultima Lucha, and we are doing Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr. in the Cerro Miedo match.
Okay. I like where you're going with this. I don't know if it would have made my list, but I like what
really
you're doing
easy.
here.
Have you seen this match in a while?
I haven't watched it in a couple of years.
It's really easy to.
I love this match.
It's really easy to dismiss this match as
that was me sending you Joe versus Necro Butcher.
I see that. Yeah, it's really easy to dismiss this match as just another like ultra violent match or a death match, but the story told here. So we're going in weeks, because that is one thing Lucha Underground did not fuck around with, was their storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Lucha Underground could tell a goddamn story. And so through the whole season of this show, it's Penta speaking to this master in his head, being told what to do by this master. And he keeps breaking people's arms. He had this great move where he would
he still does it.
Does he do it in AEW? Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't. They don't break arms.
It was a massacre in Lucha Underground.
They really protected this move well.
Exactly. He would put you on your belly, take your arm up, wrap his legs around it, and then throw his back down, and that would snap your arm.
It looked great.
It looked amazing, and he did it to a lot of guys. A lot of guys sold it really good. It really pushed. It was one of the reasons that Penta was pushed so high. Getting near the end of the season, he wanted to do it to Sexy Star, which is kind of ironic if you think about it.
Yeah, she's the worst.
And Vampiro, who was a commentator, got involved and stopped him from doing it to Sexy Star because he was just trying to protect this woman. And then Penta started attacking Vampiro every week and challenging him to a match and challenging the match. He says, I'm retired, I'm not doing that. Finally, he says, you know what? I am going to fight you, but you're not fighting Ian Hodgkins. You are fighting Vampiro. And then that sets up fucking Ultima Lucha. And start off right with the fucking entrances, man. Vampiro comes to the ring in like this like Pope's outfit with like smoke and fucking doing his fucking, he's got the makeup on.
Like old school Christopher Daniels.
Yeah. And then he took off the hat. We're not used to seeing him with the makeup with the bald head anymore. So then he looked like Uncle Fester. Oops.
That's a huge pop.
And then here's the thing. You're thinking at this point, Vampiro hasn't been a full-time wrestler in years. Can he still go? Not that he was ever like a top guy anywhere, but he was a decent wrestler at one point, especially in AAA. So when he gets in the ring, I don't know what to expect. All of a sudden, it's just this brawl, which is smart because you don't want to put him in a technical wrestling match, not at his age. And then this brawl turns into this fucking bloodbath. They bring in everything, man. The light tubes, the tacks, the fucking, I think there's a fire spot. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it. But they do everything. And finally, he beats him. He's a bloody mess. And Penta beats Vampiro in what may have been considered an upset because he was the heel. And then one of the greatest moments, Vamp grabs the mic and starts screaming at him, telling him to break his arm. He goes, you got to do it. So Penta says, fuck you. And he goes and he breaks his arm. And this is good. You served your master well, showing that Vampiro was the master the whole time, and Striker selling it like $1 million. But without the violence, I think it still would have been a really entertaining match if it didn't get as violent as it got. But because it got that violent, it fed to that story, that evil, evil, evil side of Penta coming out. And this Vampiro, Ian Hawkins digging down and bringing out that evil side of him back up to be able to put out that sort of violence, it really fed to the story. And to this day, I love this match.
Great match. I just want everyone to just take a step back for a minute here. And we just want to appreciate Mike for a minute. This was you. This is a vintage Mike here.
Oh, well,
and I'm going to compliment you here. I love everything you just said right now. And you said fuck about 400 times. You probably don't even realize you did it.
Nope.
And I just sat there and I don't even know what you said for most of it because I was just enjoying the moment. We're gonna miss having you on the show. I'm gonna miss you, man.
Oh man. That's really funny.
Yeah, that's my takeaway from that. I just sat back.
I don't know what you said, but there was a lot.
Mike's talking about Lucha Underground. He's saying fuck a lot. He's hyped up, and I just he's drinking mojitos. I just wanted to take that in for a minute. So I appreciated that. And as we speak, I just sent you another link because I've been telling you to watch another match. CM Punk versus Penta.
Okay, yeah.
There's two links now.
All right. Yes,
all right.
I've been dying to see that match.
It's a great match.
All right, moving on to my number 5. We're going back to the world of Ring of Honor, man.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to 2012, Best in the World. We're doing a hybrid fighting rules match between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly.
Oh, I'm really glad you put this on your list. I would have never thought about it. And this, yeah.
Now, I always mix up the timeline. Is this the last match in their feud before they both left? I think so, eh?
Oh,
no,
2012. You're doing that? Sorry,
I always mix up the years. They didn't leave until 2016. This is the beginning of their feud.
Are you doing like their?
I'm doing the one where Cole won.
Are you doing the one where like they knock their teeth out and shit?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. This is like so. These
now,
guys were a tag team, right?
We talked about their other big match.
What was their team name? Do you remember?
Shockwave, something like that. Something Shock.
I'll find out. Rob's yelling at his TV screen right now.
Shock. Because I remember when Undisputed Era first came up and it said Shock the System. I'm like, that's a great fucking callback. No, it's not Shockwave. It's Shock something.
I'm looking it up. You carry on.
Excuse me. Again, have you seen that match in a minute?
I have not watched it in a long time, but I have watched it, and it is it's really, really good.
It's violent, but it's also an extremely good wrestling match. They kind of lost me because they called it a hybrid wrestling match, which it kind of got lost to me. I didn't feel that they really used that gimmick too much in the match, but it's two of the best wrestlers of that era, of any era, really, doing a match with that kind of violence. And you're right, they did. They both like got knocked to face. You could see Cole's tooth laying in the middle of the ring.
Yeah,
it's disgusting. And like I said, it's one of those matches. It would still be a phenomenal match without the violence, but the blood, the tooth, everything just kind of kicked it up a notch.
I can't find it. I'm so sad. But yeah, this match is great. Like this match put these guys on the map. You know, you talked about Jay Briscoe earlier. These guys were tag team for a while. They ended up breaking up. And yeah, man, this put these guys on the map. Future Shock.
There we go.
Yeah, these guys were a couple. And I remember like watching these guys team up, and I don't remember exactly what started their feud. I'd have to go back and do some research. But yeah, this was the match that made people take a look, and especially at Adam Cole. He came out as Adam Cole always does because he is very special.
Yeah.
Adam Cole's a special talent. He really is. And so is Kyle. Kyle's fantastic, but this was the match.
This kicked off a great series of matches.
This kicked off a great career for both of these guys. Because if this match would have flopped, I don't think you would have got what you got from these guys.
A few months back, you and I did a final battle list, and I talked about their final battle match.
Oh,
yes, yeah, and I talked about the final battle match there, where Kyle won, and this one, Adam was the victor.
Was I there for that list? Or was I?
I mean,
hammered.
You may have been a couple Cottage Springs in. I'm not sure.
Was I titty fucking Dusty Rhodes drunk that night?
I don't think you've ever been that drunk on the show.
That is not true. My Terry Funk, the Terry Funk edition was.
You were pretty drunk on the Terry Funk show.
Yeah.
Moving on to my number 4, we're finally going a little old school. We're finally getting into your bread and butter, the stuff that really gets you going. We're going all the way back to 1985, and we're doing NWA's Starrcade. We're going into the big steel cage for the I Quit match between Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA. Another match that I could truly honestly say is in my top 10 favorite matches of all time.
It's so good. Yeah, this is great. And in the 80s, the cage match was really protected, especially in the NWA.
This didn't need to be a cage match because it already had the I Quit stipulation to it. But because this was such a personal feud between Magnum and Tully, it just made sense to lock them in there, right?
Yeah, well, because these guys have been feuding for months and months and months and months, and it was very personal. I can't believe I didn't even think of mentioning this feud during my personal feud list. Yeah, I mean, I think your personal feud list was pretty good though. There's been more personal feuds in this one. These guys just hated each other. It wasn't a personal, it wasn't even that it was personal. It's that there was just a hatred. You know what I mean? There's a difference between Eddie Guerrero saying I'm your papi and your son is my son, Rey Mysterio. That's personal. Compared to just these guys hate each other and it escalated.
Or giving someone's mom a heart attack.
JBL, exactly, right? You can tell we've both been listening to Briscoe and Bradshaw's podcast lately, eh?
So good lately.
It has been very good. The finish alone for this match, just this was a great match, and the finish is legendary, and you couldn't even make a case of this being in your top match. You know what I mean? Just for the finish.
This is the best I Quit match in history. I truly think that. And even if I didn't think that, I would still say that it's the best finish to an I Quit match in history.
Yeah. One thing I don't like about I Quit matches, I don't like the spot where the heel or the baby face, it's always the heel, gets a threatening, I'm going to do this if you don't do it. And I've seen it with baby faces too.
I like that spot.
I hate it.
I'm guilty of that spot back in my backyard wrestling days. And I did it as the face. I was the face. I did a spot where I handcuffed my opponent to the ring post. And then I set a crutch on fire. And then I threatened to shove it right in his face if he didn't say I quit, which he did. He said I quit. But to me, I think it needs to make sense to the story. In this case, my opponent, this character, this heel, was a very vain, very full of himself character that loved his looks. He thought he was a real pretty boy. So for me, threatening to burn his face, it makes sense that he would quit because...
Did he burn his face after?
No. Because I was the face.
But this is where my problem is. If you get to a point of hatred with somebody where you have to have an I Quit match, it shouldn't care. Hey, I'm gonna burn your face. Okay, I quit. Well, guess what? I hate you. You know what I mean? I just don't like that spot personally.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for it, but that only because I've done it and I'm a self-mark. Anything left to say about this amazing I Quit match? Because it is.
There's nothing. You know what I mean? If you haven't watched this match, don't be an idiot and go watch it. You know what I mean?
We're for my number 3 again. This is the last time I'll say this, I promise. But this is in my top 10, if not my top 5 favorite matches of all time. This is one of the greatest matches ever conceived. We're going to 1983 Starrcade, and we are doing Roddy Piper versus Greg Valentine dog collar match.
Yeah, this was great too. I haven't watched this match in too long. I'd like to rewatch it soon.
Man, I try to watch it at least once a year, just because I'm a Roddy mark, if for no other reason. But also just because it's a great match, the best of its kind. Be it a dog collar match, strap match, any whatever you want to call when two guys are strapped together, it is the best of its kind. Now,
Yeah.
I enjoyed Punk and MJF. I did, and I think there is room for people to do really good ones today. I don't think anyone is ever going to beat the intensity or storytelling or hatred that was in that match. I mean,
There's something magical about
the thing
first.
with Roddy's ear, and you know what I mean. Like,
There's something magical about the first, and I definitely think Punk and MJF are maybe the second best dog collar match. Cody and Brody had a great dog collar match for Brody's last match ever. Punk and Jimmy Rave had a great dog collar match as well. But this is a hard match to do, man. It's a scary match to do. It's dangerous. Yep. I'm glad it's protected too.
Yes. Like I said, there's lots of matches around the same. Like you could tie in bull rope matches. You can tie in Caribbean strap matches. But I don't think any are as intimidating or as dangerous as
what I like about the dog collar though is like with the strap matches, it's touch the corners and you're out. With the dog collar, it's like a modified steel cage match because you can't go anywhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And
exactly.
I know you just talked about MJF and Punk, and I just want to talk about one spot on that. Do you remember the spot? Because I think you just watched this match recently, right?
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Do you remember the spot where MJF grabbed the chain and hit Punk's back with it?
Yeah.
And he didn't hit the mat first. And I was just like that was like an oh fuck moment. Like, that was one of the sickest things I've seen in a long time.
He didn't blow out his eardrums, so that's a good thing. He has that above Greg Valentine.
You'll know this better than me because you're a Piper mark. Is that a shoot? Like, did he actually? Is that Piper? Just being an '80s worker
to my knowledge, it's a shoot. He was an '80s worker to the day he died. So if it was a work, he worked that until the day he died. I heard him because I used to listen to his podcast shortly before he passed away.
Was it good?
And he talked. It was good, yeah, but from a Roddy mark. But yeah, there was two things that I learned on that show. One being that he did talk about the ear and said it was legit, but he also talked about how when he found out about the match, him and Greg, no, not him and Greg, sorry, because they would have never been seen together in public. But I can't remember with who. I think he would have met, maybe with Magnum or somebody. But he went to a hardware store in Atlanta, or maybe it was Charlotte, and then and he went and he bought the collars and he bought the chains and he was like measuring out the chain, and whoever he was with, he was whapping with the chain to make sure that it felt good and shit like that. Yeah, he told that story. So like that's back in the day when the workers took care of themselves. They're told what to do, or maybe they came up with the idea. I'm not sure. But then he went out. It's like that scene in The Wrestler where Mickey Rourke's in the fucking dollar store buying all his hardcore shit. That's what that was. It's not like you get to work and the props department is like, all right, Roddy, here's your chain and here's this and here's that. No, they went out to the fucking Home Depot down the road and got their shit. I love that.
Yeah, I'm down with that. And this is like one of the most legendary matches of all time. So again, let me rephrase what I just said about your number 4. Just go watch the match. Do yourself a favor, guys. Especially the younger guys
go watch either. Those are my 2 favorite Starrcades of all time. And I will say that I think 83 might be one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time.
Is that Flair and Race in the cage?
Yeah,
first one? Yeah. You got Young Blood and Steamboat against the Briscoes in the cage as well. Yeah. Good Starrcade.
It's a great Starrcade. That's the first Starrcade, right? 83?
Yeah. Flair
Yeah,
for the
first
gold, baby.
Yep.
Woo.
Moving on, a match I already kind of alluded to earlier. I almost had a hard time putting this in my second spot, and maybe it's just because of what I've been listening to lately, but just such a great match. We're going to Judgment Day. Tell me the year. 04. Judgment Day 04.
That was a guess on my part. Woo.
And we are talking about John Bradshaw Layfield versus Eddie Guerrero.
This is the biggest blade job I've ever seen in my entire life.
To the point where, and this was just told on JBL's podcast, after the match, they had like Chavo, I think Chavo Sr., a bunch of other guys all huddled around Eddie going, you need to go to the hospital. You're going to die. Like, you're losing too much blood. No, I say, no, I'm not going. Get me JBL. I want to talk to JBL. JBL comes in, he goes, great match, SA. He goes, yeah, great match, Eddie, but I think they want you in the hospital. Okay, no problem. And he just wanted affirmation that it was a good match from his opponent. Like that's how pro Eddie was. You know,
I like the story that they told too. Why Eddie hit a gusher the way that he hit it, because like a couple weeks before that, he hit a dud.
Yeah, well,
it's like, don't worry, it's gonna be good
tonight. I guess what happened was he had hit a spot even before that where it was still fresh. And he had a lot of scar tissue. So he was really, and then the night of the dud is because he tried to cut over the scar tissue and it didn't work. So now he's really afraid it's not going to work. So
and Eddie put a lot of pressure on himself at this time too, right? 100%. He took it personal that the houses weren't huge at this point, and Eddie really had that old school mentality of being the champion, right? There was
what's that story I heard Chris Benoit tell? I don't remember what match it was, but there was a match of those two together, and Eddie hated it. It was us as fans, it was probably amazing, but Eddie probably thinks he botched a spot. So Chris goes back to the back and there's Eddie fucking doing push-ups.
Yeah.
It's like, Eddie, what are you doing? He goes, I gotta punish myself because that match was dog shit. So what did Chris Benoit do?
Right there with him.
Gets right down with him and he does fucking push-ups.
Yeah.
Man.
Benoit was always big on the Hindu squats too, eh?
Yeah. Say what you want to say about Benoit, man. There's something to be said about that friendship between Eddie and Benoit.
Listen, before the brain damage happened, like Benoit was a great guy, and you know, and then he wasn't a great guy, and
unless your name is Daniel Peter.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a Bob Holly thing too.
Yeah,
and a Daniel Pewter thing. Fuck Daniel Pewter.
Yeah. Well. Getting back to Eddie and JBL, the reason the violence works so good in this match, we were saying it earlier, when you do something so personal to somebody, like make somebody's mom have a heart attack, it makes sense that you want to go and beat the fuck out of him. And that's what Eddie was trying to do. And when this is why I love this spot, because when JBL number one, let me say, and I don't think you're gonna argue with me on this, JBL is one of the greatest chicken shit heels in the history of professional wrestling.
Top 5.
Okay. So when he grabs that chair, he's not, you can look at it, watch the match. It's not I'm a badass motherfucker and I'm going to kill this guy. It's, and he's coming back. I better fucking get rid of him before he fucking hurts me. So he grabs that chair and he swings it as hard as he fucking can. It's probably one of the sickest chair shots I've heard in my life. I think the only chair shot that might be sicker is the one Brock did on Hardy.
That was a big one. No, it was the other way around. Hardy on Brock.
Was it Hardy on Brock? Sorry. Yeah.
Taker on Vince was a big one too. Taker on Shawn at Hell in a Cell was a big one. But this is I think this is the biggest chair shot in the history of professional wrestling.
Man, it was so loud that you could hear the entire crowd gasp.
What you've got to take into consideration here too is the way that the camera shot this was so good. Because
perfect,
like you didn't see JBL with the chair.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden
he's boom behind the commentary table.
It was like a gunshot. And then the camera wasn't on Eddie. And when it came back to Eddie, it was it's the biggest play job I think I've ever seen.
Apparently, so before the match, before they went out, Eddie looked at JBL and said, "You fucking hit me with that chair."
Yeah.
And JBL says, "Yeah, I'm going to hit you." He goes, No. You hit me hard.
Yeah.
He's like, because I'm gonna be hitting you hard tonight. Yeah,
Well, this was
want you to
Eddie.
hit me
This was
hard.
Eddie's first headlining pay-per-view as champion.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
he was the champion going into WrestleMania that year, but he wasn't the headline.
No. It's one of my favorite Eddie Guerrero matches of all time. It was just a great story altogether. I think it is my favorite JBL match.
Yeah. This was the birth of the JBL character too.
Yes. Here's a sidebar for you. Before we get on to the number one, who would you consider JBL's greatest rival or opponent? The first two that come to my mind are Eddie or John Cena. Do you have anybody that isn't one of those two guys?
I don't know. JBL. I'd have to. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Like, yeah, I think Eddie would be number one.
Taker had some good.
Taker, yeah, but they had bad matches on the big stage show. Like
exactly.
they
that,
had,
that SummerSlam match was such a letdown.
I would say Eddie, Cena. I'm trying to think of like after he lost the title. He had a good little run with Batista. It was pretty good.
I don't really remember that.
But yeah, no, I think Eddie's number one with a bullet.
100%.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, moving on to my number one.
I have no idea what it is.
This.
Oh yes, I do.
I figured you would. This match, it is not the it's not the most violent match on this list. It's not the bloodiest match on this list. But I think it's the match that
That's because you have Eddie on your list.
Yeah, I think it's the match that used the blood and the violence so well to tell the story that they told. And it's one of my favorite stories, and it is my favorite WWE match in history. And we are going to WrestleMania 13. We are doing Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart in a submission match.
It has to be. The finish of this match, when the blood hit this match took the turn when the blood hit, but there's a specific moment when Bret is going to the top rope and Austin gets up and hits him with the chair.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lawler yells, "It's WrestleMania, baby." And then this match went to a new level. And then that finish, like,
and that when he's got him in the sharpshooter and he's screaming, and the blood, there's a drop of blood falling off his nose, and there's a drop of blood like in his
tooth.
Like,
yeah.
That image is burned in my brain for the rest of time.
Yeah.
One of my favorite t-shirts in history was that Blood from a Stone shirt that they put out shortly after that. That image is WrestleMania to me. This is the definite WrestleMania match. This is what WrestleMania matches should all aspire to be from a storytelling standpoint.
People were rallying behind Austin at this point already.
Mm-hmm.
This match made him a megastar.
1000%.
And it was because of the finish and the blood.
Listen, did the Tyson thing put him over the top? Yes. Did but
winning he wouldn't have been believable in that Tyson spot without this match.
Without 100%. His feud with Bret is probably the most important feud of his career, because it's, having Bret have the faith in him that he did. Bret wanted to make Austin. That's the important thing to think about here. Bret wanted to make Steve Austin, and he did in a big way. But the reason it's my number one, and the reason I think the blood and the violence is so important to the story, is because you have Bret Hart, who is known for being a scientific wrestler and is the son of a man who could stretch you in 2,000 ways. So it is believable.
Let me show you some of our more basic maneuvers there.
What a maneuver. Or he could, so it's believable that he's going to go into WrestleMania in a submission match and make this dude tap out. You know what I mean? It's believable that he can do that. This is a believable sell, not like WrestleMania 12. This is believable.
Do you know what the best part, though, is about Austin bleeding here? Because there was no blood in the WWE at the time.
Yeah.
And Bret bladed Austin right beside Vince. like right beside him.
And Austin asked him, he's like, listen, I've never done this before. Can you do that to me? And that's usually a big no-no.
Well, Austin has bladed before, though. That's a lie. Because, like, we watch War Games 92. Austin was bleeding buckets. Austin had bladed before.
Unless that was Hardaway.
No. Come on. If Dustin's
bleeding... I'm just saying. I mean,
I know what Austin said. I'm not saying you're wrong here because I've heard Austin say that too. But Brett said that in his book, actually, which I think might be a little bit embellished. But Brett's book, by the way, best wrestling book of all time.
I haven't read it.
Come on.
No, I haven't read it. I've read a lot of wrestling books, not that one.
It is my personal favorite wrestling book of all time.
But like I was saying about the build, going into this, knowing that this man is hands-on favorite to win a submission match against a guy who is known for just beating the fuck out of you. He's not a scientist. There's nothing scientific about Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's going to go in, stomp a mud hole in your ass and walk it dry. But can he make you tap out? We don't know this.
So it's a hell of $1 million dream, though.
But yeah, no shit. But here's the thing. In order to win a submission match, you have to make a motherfucker submit. Steve Austin is one of the toughest sons of bitches in the planet. And that's how he's being booked. That's how he's being pushed. So it's believable, too, that can he make this motherfucker tap? And then he doesn't. And the only reason he loses that match is because he loses so much blood that he passes out in the fucking sharpshooter and Ken Shamrock fucking calls it. What an amazing way to put both men over, an amazing way to use the blood and use the violence to, like I said, it was almost like the blood in that match was a character of its own.
Yeah. You won't get an argument with me. Number one with the bullet. I agree with you 100%. There's a couple matches I'm surprised that you didn't put on your list.
There's a few that I really wanted on my list, but
tell me your reasoning why you didn't have Dustin and Cody on your list, because I know you really liked that match and that blood was magical.
It was great. And up until this morning, it was my number 6 to 7 spot. Then I went back and watched a whole shitload of ROH matches, and it just got the push.
Fair.
It's just not as good a match as the other three that made my 5, 6, 7. The same thing could be said about Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa.
That was another one I pushed on you a little bit.
I know. I did watch it. I understand why you wanted me to see it for this list. I get it. I just did not enjoy the match. I didn't see a story. I don't think I'm much of a Britt Baker fan, to be perfectly honest with you.
The reason why
I don't get the use of her manager at all.
Yeah.
So I was just lost in that match.
The reason why I pushed that one on you is because I thought it really met your criteria of it took a match that was like it was a fine match, and it.
Well, that's the thing.
Violence...
I think if you took the violence out of that match, I don't think I'd be saying anything great about the match. I think it was just an okay match.
I think Baker's blade job. Obviously, it's not Austin level of legendary, but it really pushed that match to a level. But this is my beef.
I'm just wondering if people are only talking about this match because they're not used to seeing women in a match like this.
I think it was just Baker in general, but here's my thing, and I've had this conversation with Jonah, and I'm going to give Jonah a shout out here. He said a really great point about AEW. They have one very big weakness, and it is that they don't capitalize and make moments mean something. And I'm going to use this as an example because this was their Steve Austin moment, and it's kind of an afterthought now. You know what I mean? They don't like that Britt Baker covered in blood moment is huge. I think it was really powerful. Just a couple weeks ago, Darby Allin and Jeff Hardy had a match. Darby did this insane spot. I don't know if you saw it where he did a senton onto Jeff.
Yeah.
That moment should be immortalized in time because it was incredible. And if you look at Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania 16, the WWE immortalized that moment in time. Now, I know AEW is only a couple years old, 2-3 years old.
But
Time will
that's
tell.
one thing. That's one thing WWE was always good at.
Yeah.
They take a moment, like go all the way back to WrestleMania 3. They take this moment like Hulk Hogan body slamming onto the Giant. They took that moment and they shoved it in your face. They pounded it into the ground and they said, "This is our company. We are going to take moments like this and remind you that this is what we do."
Yeah.
That was at WrestleMania 3. We are now at WrestleMania 28 or 38 rather, and we're still talking about that moment because they don't let us forget that moment. Along many other moments. AEW kind of needs to do the same thing. Don't let us forget.
What I will say in hindsight, though, is that WWE didn't really start doing that until the 90s. Like that moment wasn't etched in stone until the 90s. You know what I mean? Like when they kind of figured out. So I'm going to give AEW another 2 years before I shit on them for it.
Okay.
That's it. And then I will shit on them. I have one more I want to talk about.
Okay.
And then I'll let you bang out your honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this would make my list or not, but with the criteria that you put out, because the match isn't spectacular. It's a fine match, but the violence made it the most famous wrestling match of all time. I'm talking about Mankind and Undertaker.
Because to me it's not a fine match. You take those two spots out and you have nothing, and you'll never change my mind about that.
Now I don't think it was a terrible match after that. I thought it was just okay. You know, they had the thumbtack spot, which was violent as well, and obviously Foley was fucked up, so he wasn't like, you know, but I thought it was still an okay match after that. But if you're going by the criteria only of your list, the violence in that match.
But my criteria stated it couldn't be violence for the sake of violence, and I do feel like that it was.
See, I don't think it was violence for the sake of violence.
I look at that match as two spots. I feel like they didn't even plan out the match. Yeah, we'll do a bunch of shit, but then you're gonna throw me off that fucking thing.
No, they planned
the entire match.
Only the second one wasn't planned though. The first spot was planned.
I think the whole match was planned around that one big spot. I do.
But what my argument is that the violence in that match made it the most talked about match in wrestling history.
Yeah, no, I can't take that away. But again, to me, it has to be a good match. And I wouldn't argue if it was on your list. I wouldn't argue with you because you consider it a good match. It couldn't be on my list because I don't consider
it's not even that it's a great match. It's that the violence made it legendary.
But it's still, like I said, it has to be a match where if you take out the violence, you could still be like, yeah, I like that. But the violence makes it that much better.
I'm gonna just go on it.
Yeah, okay.
I won't fight you on it because I get what you're saying. But
I have another honorable mention that's the exact opposite of that, and that's why it didn't make my list. So this match, I feel like if you take the violence out, it's nothing. The match that didn't make my list, that I kind of wish did, but
Chambers of Horror. The man got electrocuted, for God's sakes.
This match, if you take the violence out, it's still the same amazing match, and I don't think the violence amplified it at all. Hell in the Cell falls under that category as well. But what I'm really talking about is WrestleMania 8, Bret and Roddy.
Nah, I'm not giving you that one. Sorry. It wasn't it wasn't a violent match. It was a blade job.
Well, I mean, you obviously you do agree with some sort, because when you gave me a bunch of ideas for it, that's one of the matches you sent me.
The blood amplified the heat of the match, but like
I said, this is why it's not on my list.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on my list either. I get it, but yeah, no, like going by how your list flowed, I wouldn't say this one. Great match though.
I have one more honorable mention. It's a match. I don't even know if you're going to remember it. It's a special match in my heart, and I don't remember the name of the show, to be honest, or even the year. But it's got to be mentioned because it involves a guy that you'll be meeting next week, I hope.
Ooh. Oh, I know what you're going to say.
It's Steve Corino
versus BJ Whitmer.
BJ Whitmer. Yeah.
Great match. I thought you were going to say Kevin Sullivan against Wing Kamara or whatever his name is, where he fucking hack shows.
Oh, I forgot about that. No.
I have a deep cut for you.
But of course, this match, if you haven't seen it, Kevin Sullivan shows up at the very end and helps fucking shove a spike in the fucking Carino's head.
Fingers crossed that we will be speaking to Kevin Sullivan this weekend. I'm hoping. We're working on it.
Yeah, I forgot to send this to you. He added another date to his meet and greets. He's doing a wrestling. He's doing a wrestling show in Toronto the day before you're going to that comic book shop. Not the day before. Sorry,
on Thursday, right?
On Thursday.
Yeah, the Lucha show. Yeah. I
that's it. Yeah,
that was his first one. The comic show is actually after.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I have a deep cut one for you.
All right.
I want to go to Survivor Series 2003. 2 matches on this card. Vince McMahon versus The Undertaker, buried alive.
Yeah. Okay.
Shawn Michaels' performance in the Survivor Series match, Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. That was a great match.
I'll give that to you.
And Shawn hit a fucking gusher, and then he had to run the gauntlet between 4 guys or 3 guys or whatever it was. That's like, I think it's in the top 2 Survivor Series matches of all time.
A special comment could be made for Shawn and Jericho.
Yeah, Shawn and Triple H, take your pick. Right?
Shawn's had a great handful of very violent matches. Triple H and Foley have had some great matches that I think the violence kind of upped the game on.
Royal Rumble, man.
Yeah. So as a whole, for my last list before taking a step back, how'd I do?
It was fucking awful. You suck. You're the worst. You need to take
the fuck up.
You need to take this next month or so and just think about being better at lists.
Is this what I want to do with myself? Like, do I really want to be on a wrestling podcast if I'm not very good at it?
I mean, practice makes perfect, buddy. We got another few years to go before you get.
I'm not a good restaurant manager, and I'm not a good husband, and I'm not a good at a lot of things. So, and I do all those. So
you're a hell of a mojito drinker. Though.
I guess you're stuck with me.
I accept you for what you are. I accept you for what you are.
Pretty sure that's exactly what my wife's gonna say when we actually get married. It's gonna be part of her vows.
I thought that's what you said when you took your pants off for the first time.
Wow.
I accept it for what it is. Well, that's it, man.
That's it.
I'll see you
for
in a
now.
month.
I'm sure you'll see me throughout the summer. I might get. Just like you said, the sleepless nights and shit like that. If that baby, I might be on the show with a baby in my arm. Who knows?
On Instagram Live when you get bored.
And two bottles.
Yeah, one
for her, one for me.
No, 2 for you. You're just gonna latch a baby on your tit and be hammering mojitos.
I did forget to plug that. Stay tuned to our Instagram on Sunday. I'm going to be going live for the birth of my daughter.
Oh,
I haven't told my wife this yet, so keep it kayfabe.
She'll be fucking morphined out of her face. Don't worry about it. Also, while you're talking about stuff here, Memorial Day sale, Pro Wrestling Tees, 20% off. Use the code Memorial 22. Get some counted out shirts. Whoop whoop.
I'm kind of pissed off about that because I found out the hard way. When they put sales on, guess who fucking pays for the sale?
Who? What?
Yeah.
We do? So don't buy our shirts on sale?
So somebody bought a shirt all along, and I'm like, hey, how come they paid less for it? Because they had a discount code. Now I don't know if it's like fucking are
we still getting enough money for it?
Eh?
Do we still get our full pay out of it?
No. This
Guys,
is what I'm saying. I don't know about the Memorial Day thing. That might be a thing, but I guess one of our amazing listeners, I guess, had like a promo code. So then, when he bought his shirt, he only paid he paid whatever he paid, but then we only got 1/7 of the fucking what we usually get for it. I was just like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Everybody, do not use these codes. It is a scam. They will hack you. They will hack you and destroy your life.
Listen. Nothing named Hack ever worked good. Ask Hardcore Hack from WCW.
I liked Hardcore Hack, but I was a mark in '99.
Yeah.
And speaking of marks, 99. Mike, You want to take us home or what?
Yeah, I'm announcing now that starting next week, I'm going back to the lasting mark. I'm not having a kid. This has all been a ruse. I'm leaving the show to go back to Danny.
Don't say that. People will believe you.
Well, man, I hope I'm back sooner than later. I will be here in and out for the summer. I am going to miss you. I'm going to miss this show. Hopefully, I get to see you in and out of diaper changes and fucking.
Nah, man, this is the only time I actually want to talk to you. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
all the rest of the stuff is just like I have to deal with our friendship, so I can plan out our show. So
I'm gonna show up to a Barry wrestling show without you knowing, with a fucking one of those pouches on with the baby attached to my end. You know,
I'm gonna be. This is ridiculous. I hate this. Don't leave me. Don't leave me.
With that said, for the last time in a while.
Wait, hold up a drink. Cheers, my friend. All the best. I'm very proud of you for fathering another child. The world doesn't need any more mojito mics, but I'm glad we got them. Love you, buddy. And yeah, I'll do it for you. Take us home on behalf of your future vasectomy.
Well, I, Mojito Mike, have been counted out.
Cheers.
Cheers.